Now need to create our design of our snowflake. And if you think about it, we've kind of got to create effectively just a sixth of this. And I generally think of the lines as the lines that go down the middle of one of these kind of little segments here. Okay. I'm going to do a reasonably simple design, and then you can, and I suggest you do it along this kind of way, and then get more complex as you go. Okay. So first of all, I'm going to go back to my program, and I'm going to select the line tool here again to create, and I'm just going to select the green dot on the top here. I'm going to drag out about 2 millimeters. Typing in 2 makes it exactly 2. Clicking tab locks it in place. Click 0 in, so for degrees, and now I know that my line's going to be literally just along here. Then I'm going to click enter, and it's created that line, as you can see. I'm going to drag it down, and I'm going to try and get it to lock, so it's not on an angle so much like this, although actually, you know what, maybe I will do an angle. So I'm going to select tab and click 92, and that'll give me a nice angle. Let's see how it's now locked that no matter where I move. I'm just going to go kind of roughly about here, and then I'm going to go all the way back out to this edge, and I'm going to select, or sorry, not quite this edge, I'm going to go to about this edge here. I'm going to select now and then go in towards the line. Now the line I'm trying to angle so that I'm zooming in here with my mouse to make it easier, so that it kind of locks onto the line here. And if you get it right, if you look at it, you'll get this little perpendicular icon here. If you don't get that when you do this, you need to right click, click OK, then select this button here. It's called the perpendicular constraint. You can then select this line here and this line here. I'll get a pop-up that tells me this sketch constraint already exists, so I don't need it obviously, but you might if you accidentally missed it. So now I'm going to select a dimension again. I'm going to dimension this line. You'll notice I want this to be 2 millimeters along here, not this angle. So I need to right click and go aligned, and then my dimension is aligned to that shape. Now rather than typing in 2 mil every time, I'm going to type in, oh sorry, I'm not going to type in, I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to click on another dimension that's 2 mil. For example, this one. That's called dimension 3. It's the third dimension I created. And so every time I do that, it just automatically snaps it. Okay. Now I need to create another dimension between this line and this line to make it all nice and neat, and I need 2 degrees. Okay, that just makes sure that these lines are kind of nice and neat. And finally, I want to create a dimension from this point to this line. So for here, that's 50 millimeters, which makes sense. Okay, I just did a what's called a reference dimension. It doesn't drive anything. If I change the number on this one, for example, to 50. It will move the dimensions and everything around it to what it was meant to be. But this one, I can't change it. It's just to tell me what it is. It's just like a measurement. So having got this far, I'm now going to just create dimension again. I'm going to go from this point here to this line here, and I'm going to make sure this is also 50. And you'll notice it's a little bit shorter than what you think it would be. That's because this is at 60 degrees. Okay. If this was at 90 degrees down to here, that would line up exactly with this line. But because it's on an angle, like a hypotenuse, if you've gotten up to Pythagoras yet in maths, and it's all kind of, coming together here, this is how this works. Now I'm going to not do anything else other than that, and that's all I'm going to do in this tutorial. But if you wanted to add some things on, for example, some little leaves, you could call them, you could do this by simply selecting the line tool, zooming in nice and close, making sure you're snapped on, and then just doing these kind of angles. And you notice that when I hover in the right place, I get that perpendicular constraint appearing about here, like so. Going back again, I'm going to wait until this kind of snaps in place with a perpendicular constraint back here again. And so this is nice and neat. I'm then going to go line again and select the 2, making sure I get the 2 green dots. And that's important because I need to have this little line underneath here so I can then select it later on. So it's actually got a line there and then this whole box. And you could do that all the way along, but it's hard to get them all neat and there's tricks to it, so I'll show you if you get interested. But basically this is the most simple kind of design you can do. Alright, the easy way of doing it is if you just drag a quick box over all of these, holding shift now, I'm going to drag and select all 4 icons, all lines I made, sorry. I'm going to select a rectangular pattern from the pattern tool. I've already got my geometry selected, so I just need to click direction. I'm going to select this direction. I'm going to maybe make 5 of them, and I'm only going to have them about 6 millimeters apart. There you go, some little chevrons done. Okay, so that is where we've gotten to now. The next step we've got to do is just make sure these lines out here are not what we call solid. So if they're solid lines, they'll be part of the next step, but we don't want them to be part of the next step. We would prefer them to be these kind of construction lines dotted, so they're not basically able to be used. So I'm going to select this top line here, just go up to the top and select construction. And because I made sure I closed off this line here, I've still got this one single profile. And you think about it like a drawing, okay, so I'm going to just move off here. If I left a section like this, alright, as an open design, it would never be able to be created as a with a third dimension, so it would never become a thickness because it can't be used. It's open. It's what we call open. So you would have to make sure that you had those two connected back up, like so, and then you could create this in 3D. And otherwise, it's just 2D shape and it can't be used. So that's why it's so important for us to have all of these closed off. Okay, so this kind of like boomerang shape is closed off, and then these individual little boxes are also closed off. And that's it. That's your sketch done. So I'm going to finish my sketch now. I'm going to just kind of go back to that third 3D shape, and we'll do the next step now.